We've seen posters all over Appalachia talking about this excavator power armor made by the Garrahan Mining Company. It was some sort of pre-war contest going on. The poster didn't really have a ton of details, but after reading the poster, we discovered the location for the Garrahan mining headquarters. We can also be sent here while doing the primary quest for the responders. Like us, the fire breathers saw all the same posters and theorized that Garrahan might have something that would help the responders. We find the Garrahan mining headquarters as one of the southernmost locations of the ash heap. Nearby, we see some of those towering, strange buildings that we've seen off in the distance from nearly every hilltop. We'll have to explore those in a bit, but for now, let's focus on the headquarters. If we arrive by the road, we pass under a big Garrahan Mining Company sign. We see the headquarters to the south. We went through the main door when we came here while completing the Order of Mysteries. It's here where we found a hallucinogen canister. But we also see a parking garage nearby. Heading that way, we can open a door on this lower level and clear a few super mutants. On the southern side, we find a security gate. Here we find a turret control terminal, a few containers, and a skill level 1 locked tool chest. We see an opening to the west leading back outside, but turning north, we round a corner to go deeper into the parking garage. On the level below, we see a huge pit opening up in the middle of this parking garage. And here we find Chinese Liberator robots. Before going down, let's finish exploring this level. On the southern side, we find a door that's broken and jammed. We can't open it. But to the east of this, we find an employees-only security station. Heading inside, we find a bunch of mining objects on display, a door to the east that leads deeper into the headquarters, and a door to the north that leads to the security station. Here we find a skill level 1 locked security terminal. Property of Garrahan Mining Company. Main security terminal, authorized personnel only. We find a number of options, starting with log entry September 27th, 2077. Pritchard over at Mine Security tells me some troublemakers took a shovel to some of the auto miners, which pretty much shuts the place down. Don't these idiots know that they're breaking the law? I mean, I get why they're angry. Heck, I'd be angry too if they started replacing security guards with protectrons or something, but there's got to be a better solution to this problem that doesn't involve criminal damage. Anyway, I told Pritchard to start carrying a piece while on patrol. Don't want those miners taking a shovel to one of us. So it looks like the miners at Garrahan were protesting because they lost their jobs, replaced by these auto miners. And it sounds like they were violent. In the next one, October 2nd, 2077, pulled into work this morning at Garrahan HQ and observed one of the ex-miners had sprayed, "They took our jobs" on the wall. Really? They took our jobs.
They took our jobs. They took your jobs. They took your jobs too. They took our jobs. They took your jobs. They took your jobs.
They took our jobs.
They took your jobs. They took your jobs. They took your jobs.
I'm glad we could scrub most of it off before Vivian arrived at noon. She has enough on her plate right now. You've got the newspapers describing her as a villain, people around here throwing rotten vegetables at her limo, and having to keep Garrahan's creditors at bay. I have no idea how she keeps it all together. I guess that's why she's the CEO, and I'm just a security guard. On the very next day, we are at Code Red status today. Some of the ex-miners got bold, stole some blasting explosives, and took down one of the mega mansions at Bramwell. There are at least 2 people dead and several wounded. We've got fully armed guards at the front of the headquarters, and I heard that the military may be on its way. We have full authorization to shoot any of these rioters on sight. This is getting really bad really fast. These miners have lost their minds. Between what's going on around here and what's going on in Alaska, I'd say the whole world's going straight to hell. Oh, so that's what those giant towers are, mega mansions. I wonder who owns them. And I wonder why these ex-miners chose them as a target. But they took one down? I can understand protesting because you lost your job, but destroying someone's home? In the next one, 10/23/2077, the day the bombs dropped. I don't know what's going on, but I can't get anyone on the radio this morning. People around the office are saying something about an attack, but I need to get confirmation. I'm gonna hold off locking down Garrahan headquarters until I get some sort of confirmation from either Vivian or Pritchard. Now I'm hearing some low rumbles, sort of like mining blasts. I hope the miner riots haven't started up again. I'd better go check it out. I'll update the log as I discover more. But this is the last log, which means he never came back. Could the explosions he heard have caused the huge hole in this parking garage? What? Did they try to tunnel in? From here, we can open a nearby security door and control a nearby turret. We find the security cage in the northeastern corner. Here we find one ammo box, an automatic shotgun, some ammo, and shock batons on the shelf. There's a door to the north. This leads back out to the parking garage. We find a few skeletons lying around on the cars beside them. There's another security gate to the north. Here we find a fusion generator with a fusion core. And that's it for this level. Instead of going down that huge hole in the middle of this level, we'll head back towards security and enter the main headquarters through the eastern double door. We arrive at a break area, near to a staircase overlooking a lower level. Here the employees would come to make an espresso, sit down, and have coffee. Peering over the banister, however, we find super mutants. The turrets we turned off from the security terminal are on the wall overlooking this lower level. They can be quite a pain, so it's good to turn them off here. We see another one of those excavator power armor posters nearby. The excavator power armor, taking on Hornwright Industrial's auto miners. Wait a minute, Hornwright auto miners? Hornwright is another competing mining company. But we just read from the Garrahan security terminal that Gara-Han was receiving protests because Garrahan replaced some of their miners with these auto miners. What is Gara-Han doing using a competitor's auto miner? Heading south, we go through a door to arrive at another level. There's a staircase to the east and a door to the south. There's a Nuka-Cola machine here where we can get a Nuka-Cola Quantum. There's a first aid kit on a wall near to the staircase. Instead of heading east down the stairs, we'll start by going south through this large double door. We find a large tunnel. Heading through, we find a split. To the left, a staircase leading down to research and development. And to the right, there's another path to the south, but we'll start by heading west towards that super mutant we just killed. This leads to a large lobby filled with super mutants. This is the primary Garrahan mining headquarters lobby. It is this lobby that we arrive at if instead of going through the parking garage, we went through the front door. But since we came through the parking garage, we arrive from a side passage. We arrive on the lower level with a number of rooms to explore, but our quest marker is pointing us towards the southern end of this room. Here we find a double door. Before heading through, we can access the reception terminal on a front desk just outside. Welcome back, Barry. Barry Nixon, Garrahan Customer Reception Specialist. 5 memos. In the first, excavator queries. Attention all employees. Any queries regarding the excavator power armor project should be directed to Harold Frost in our Research and Development Division. Do not attempt to answer any questions directed to you by clients or the press. Oh, so the excavator power armor was developed in-house. Maybe we can pick up some of their tech here. In the next one, memo Family Fun Day. All employees are cordially invited to our annual Family Fun Day on November 11th, 2077. We'll be featuring a barbecue buffet, plenty of ice-cold Nuka-Cola, and all the ice cream you can eat. Mom and Dad can relax in our huge canvas pavilion while they listen to the musical stylings of Rod Torfelson's Armada. That is a Kids in the Hall reference. Nice, Bethesda, nice. For the kids, we'll have pony rides, a clown show, and a crafts tent for making that perfect Thanksgiving Day centerpiece. Please see Ann in HR for more details. In the next one, Hornwright sabotage. A serious security breach has occurred at our headquarters. 2 of our generators had wires cut and several file cabinets set ablaze. We strongly believe that this was an attempt by Hornwright Industrial at sabotage. Nothing critical was destroyed, but the fact that our security was bypassed is a cause for concern. If you see anyone inside the facility without proper badge, inform a security officer immediately. So Hornwright tried to sabotage them? Which makes it even more surprising that Garrahan would eventually replace all of their miners with Hornwright auto miners. What went on here? In the next one, break rooms. It's come to our attention that break rooms in our facility have been left in appallingly poor condition. When you've completed your break, be sure to pick up any trash or leftover foodstuffs and dispose of them properly. We all work long hours here, and I'm certain we collectively wish to enjoy a clean and healthy work environment. Oh, so it's like every other company I've worked at. And in the final one, Man vs. Machine event, there's been a lot of speculation in the aftermath of our defeat at the Man vs. Machine event, and I felt it was time to set the record straight. As of this moment, all operations involving the excavator power armor are on hold until we can reevaluate. Any questions from the press or communications from Hornwright Industrial are to be immediately forwarded to the CEO's office. More information will follow in the coming weeks. Thank you all for your patience and your perseverance. Man vs. Machine event? So Gara-Han had a contest with Hornwright Industrial, and they lost. But what was the contest, and what were the stakes? To find out, let's finish exploring this level. Before we go into the CEO's office, we can turn west. Here we find a conference room.
Huh? What's that?
Lots of scrap and booze on the shelves, but no holotapes or notes. Though on a blackboard, we find a message. Bring your child to work, and then another one. Stop losing. Was that a message for Vivian? Now we can head to the office of CEO Vivian Willamette Garrahan. Opening the door. Exploring her office, we find a display nook to the southeast. Here we can turn off her radio to avoid demonetization and loot a bobblehead. I got a lockpicking bobblehead in mine. There's an end-of-dungeon steamer trunk here, and some chems and booze on these shelves. There's a bathroom across the way, with a medicine cabinet and a first aid kit. Here we find a Civic Center booth key. This key opens the Garrahan's booth at the Watoga Civic Center. We learned from a note there that despite having a booth at Watoga, the Garrahans rarely went to any of those events. But that's lore that we'll cover when we explore Watoga in a different video. Here we also find a Gara-Han Estate access key card. Great, so we can explore the Gara-Han Estate, which must be one of those tall skyscrapers, those mega mansions that we see outside. After looting a cooler, we find a copy of the Charleston Herald. Hornwright wins. Monday, October 18th, 2077, Lewisburg. It was a battle for the ages, two juggernauts of mining clashing to determine who reigned supreme, but it appears Hornwright Industrial has stolen the crown. It was an impressive display on both sides, with Hornwright deploying its autonomous auto-miner unit and Garrahan Mining fielding their tenacious excavator power armor. Both effortlessly chewed through the rock at their designated sites, but it appears Hornwright had the edge, winning by a mere margin of 1.85 tons. So the contest was to see which company could mine the most ore using their own technology. The Hornwright Auto Miner, a robotic device, and the Garrahan Excavator Power Armor, run by humans. And Hornwright narrowly won. Daniel Hornwright, the CEO of the mining firm, attributes his company's win to its collaboration with the tech wizards at Atomic Mining Services and the tireless efforts of his research and development staff. It was an all-around team effort, he says, and we've proven once and for all that machine is truly superior to man. It's time to move on and look towards the future. Vivian Garrahan, CEO of the losing end of the battle, had only this to say. Our men did their best, and I'm damn proud of them. 1.85 tons is barely a truckload, and I wouldn't call this a decisive victory. Sore loser, or simply an inspired leader? This reporter is very interested to see what the future holds for Garrahan Industries. The one thing we don't learn from this article is what were the stakes of this contest? Okay, Hornwright won, Garrahan lost, but what are the ramifications of that? Perhaps we can learn by reading Vivian's terminal. It's locked, but only with a skill level 0 lock. After hacking it, we find quite a few personal diary entries. In number 1, got an interesting package from Hallucinogen Incorporated today. Seems they've caught wind of the mining protests around here and decided to help by sending me a sample of their hallucinogen gas and an estimate for a full order if I wanted to buy. Never mind the fact that I'd like to resolve the protest peacefully. Apparently, they'd rather I gas the miners and call it a day. As soon as I get a chance, I'll be sending a message back to the company telling them where they can stick their canister. Oh, this is great! What a wonderful connection to Fallout 4. We discovered the remains of the Hallucinogen Company during the events of Fallout 4. I covered them in a dedicated video that you can watch here. After discovering the details of their business, I posited that they may be even more evil than Vault-Tec. Looks like they were always looking for a new way to make a buck. After hearing about the protests, they sent Vivian a canister of hallucinogen gas to use it on the protesters. Knowing what hallucinogen gas does to a human, that is insidious. But good on Vivian for saying no. This is a neat way to explain why we find a hallucinogen gas canister in her safe, which we needed to complete the order of mysteries. In the next one, entry 2, it's been a week since I issued the Man vs. Machine challenge to Daniel Hornwright, and most of the company seems to think it was a mistake. My son Bryce is behind me. He's always stuck by my side, but my eldest Bill thinks I'm crazy. He'd never dare to say that to my face, but I hear the rumors at the water cooler talk. The team down in R&D have done a hell of a job with the excavator power armor, but at the end of the day, they've warned me we are still depending on the human element to drive the units. They say a human makes mistakes, but I say a robot malfunctions. Normally, that would level the playing field with one important distinction. A robot doesn't care. It has no drive, no will to win. It only does what it's told to, and not an iota more. That's why we're going to win this contest, and that's why we're going to end up on top. So Vivian challenged Hornwright. She was that sure of her miners wearing excavator power armor. But what a gamble she lost. In the next one, entry 3, today's the day. Man vs. Machine is about to begin. I couldn't sleep a wink last night, but at least my husband Brighton was home to keep my spirits up. Poor Harold. I called him maybe every hour on the hour at the lab to make sure every screw was tightened and every axle was greased. He assured me the excavator power armor is ready and we've got the best men lining up to run it, but I still can't get this knot out of my stomach. I've sunk almost everything Gara-Han has into this project. If we lose, I honestly don't know if we'll financially recover. I wonder how well Daniel Hornwright slept. In the next one, number 4, it's funny how a minute difference in numbers can completely shatter your world. Why did we lose? How could we have been so unlucky? Hornwright's damn auto miner performed flawlessly. Not a single failure, not a single stall. And our men, I'm so proud of them. They worked until they could barely stand. Had they not been in the powered suits, I'm certain they would have fallen over with exhaustion. They tried, but it just wasn't enough. And now I must decide what to do. Do I close the doors? Do I pack up and move the operation to the Adirondacks? I have a lot of thinking to do. There's the phone. I'm guessing it's Daniel. Time to fall on my sword. Looks like Daniel Hornwright called to gloat. In the next one, number 5, someone once said, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. I'm sure whoever came up with that quote never ran a mining company, but their words ring true. I can't give up. I can't throw away everything I worked so hard to achieve. Garrahan Mining will push through this dark time, and we'll rise again. In an effort to increase mining output, I'm seriously considering Daniel's offer to lease some of their auto miner units, but I'm not certain if it's the right thing to do. I must weigh our financial responsibilities against the welfare of my employees. I've also started to think that it's time that I step down. The excavator power armor program has been scrapped. Millions of dollars have gone to waste, and there's no one to blame but myself. I just have to decide if I'm ready to hand over the reins to Bryce, or if he's ready to accept them. So she's canceling the excavator power armor project? Why? It worked! Sure, in the contest, she mined 1.85 less tons than Hornwright, but that's not a lot. If she sunk millions into the excavator power armor project, she should still try to get some of that investment back, especially since she produced a viable product. If she's gonna market this power armor, she should just price it less than a Hornwright auto miner. It lost the contest, it still works well, so you get it cheaper than an auto miner. But maybe it's more complicated than that. Maybe there's a bunch of politics going on that we just don't have access to. Maybe she was depending upon a big government contract. A contract which depended upon the results of this contest. Or maybe she knows that the only way her product would even be viable is if it mined significantly more than Hornwright's auto miners. After all, with the excavator power armor, you still have to pay for labor to use it. So the power armor would have to allow people to excavate so much more ore that it covers the cost of hiring all the operators. At any rate, it's clear now why the miners were protesting. Because she invested so much money into the excavator power armor project, the company was going bankrupt. Adding insult to injury, Daniel Hornwright offered to lease some of his auto miner units, and it sounds like Vivian went with it. After losing the competition, she chose to replace some of her miners with Daniel's auto miners instead of going bankrupt. After using the terminal to unlock a safe, this safe had the hallucinogen canister, we can head out of her office to try and find some of this power armor. We see an upper level, but a catwalk is broken. Let's see if we can find a way up there. Turning right, we find a staircase up and a room to the right. The sign outside says Regional Operations Monitoring Center, and it's infested with super mutants. So this is where Garrahan oversaw their operations around the region. After looting the bodies in a few containers, we can head down to the bottom where we find a regional map. But their regional operations must have been small. We only find 2 places marked on it. The red pin on the map is Mount Blair, where we find Hornwright Industrial's giant extractor called Rockhound. Which is interesting because this tells us that at one time that site was operated by Garrahan. But before the bombs dropped, somehow Hornwright moved in with their giant Rockhound extractor. I think the yellow marker is actually off. There's nothing there. I visited it. It's right by the 83 sign on the road within the ash heap, but all we find there is a wrecked truck. Nearby, however, is abandoned mine shaft number 4. It's the closest nearby location, and it would make sense for Garrahan to be there. So I think this yellow marker is slightly off. That's it for observation. Heading out, we see the staircase. We can open a door to the east. This leads to another hallway. Clearing the bathrooms. In the men's restroom, we find a skill level 0 locked first aid kit on the wall. This hallway leads back to that junction where we arrived. Remember, we came from the parking garage access to the south. So now we know what's down this other path. Before we explore the final path, let's head back into this room and go up the staircase to explore the upper level of the lobby. But we see that there's nothing on this side. The catwalk is broken, so we have to jump down and climb up the broken ramp portion to access admin on the opposite side, where we find even more super mutants.
Going to go.
After clearing this room, we find more scrap and a doorway to the operations manager office. On his desk, we find another Garrahan Estate Access keycard. So 2 keycards for the same estate. After looting a first aid kit on a wall and the corpse of a settler and his duffel bag, we can hack the skill level 2 locked terminal. But all this does is allow us to unlock the skill level 3 locked safe behind us, where we have the chance to find a plan. That's it for admin. So heading out of the offices, we can move to the northern side of the lobby to explore what we missed. We see 2 pathways, one to the east, one to the west. The Gara-Han sign has fallen down into the middle of this lobby. Heading up the stairs to the north, we see the doors that lead out to the exit and a door to the west. This leads to some transport cars on tracks that delve deeper into the mine. The cars, of course, are no longer functional, but it appears the mine is not blocked. We'll explore down those tracks in a bit. But to finish exploring the headquarters, we can head back to the lobby, and this time head east. This leads us back to that junction. The only thing we failed to explore over here was the staircase leading down to research and development. And at the bottom, we find super mutants. After clearing the place we can explore, it looks like there are a number of wings to R&D. We find ourselves in the office wing. Let's move through the door into the lab portion of R&D. We find a fusion generator hiding behind a stack of boxes where we can get a fusion core, and a suit of power armor in a power armor workstation where we can get another fusion core. Here I found a suit of T-45, which was an upgrade from what I was using, which was Raider at the time. In the middle of the workshop, we find some tables laid out with all sorts of stuff, including a drill. The drill is a level 20 weapon, and it works kind of like a ripper. It doesn't deal a lot of damage, but the speed is very fast. I decided to take it for a spin. You'll see me use it in a minute. On one of the workbenches here, we find the project manager's terminal. Welcome back, Harold. Harold Frost, Gara-Han Mining Company lead R&D. In the first one, excavator module blueprints. Excavator power armor module blueprints downloaded to external data device. With that, we learned the ability to craft a full suit of excavator power armor. In the next one, personal logs, we find quite a few, going all the way back to 2075. Wow, they had been working on this for quite some time. June 12th, 2075. It's only been a few weeks since Vivian pulled me out of the U.S. Army's Research Corps, and I'm settling in well at Garrahan. One thing's for certain, working in the private sector has its advantages. Nobody constantly looking over my shoulder, no daily reports submitted in triplicate, no accounting for every last penny. As long as I show results, I'm left alone to do what I do best. Component testing for the EX-17 excavator project are proceeding ahead of schedule, and hopefully the team will have a prototype up and running within a few months. In the next one, September 22nd, 2075, we are running into durability issues with the excavator's chassis. The external punishment the arm units take when boring into bedrock is causing micro-stress fractures and sheared gear assemblies. Bryce suggested we look into black titanium as an alternative, since it's a native to the area and might provide the tensile strength needed to keep the arm components from tearing themselves apart. I wish we had access to the ore when we were designing the T-45, but I don't think the Army would have wanted to foot the bill for the refinement process. As soon as Vivian gives us her stamp of approval, we'll cast new dies and get the parts molded. Wow, so Harold here helped design the T-45. In the next one, May 18th, 2076, we are 2 months in the hole and have nothing to show for it. Vivian's breathing down my neck for results, and we keep hitting roadblocks. Right after we casted all the parts in black titanium, we realized the suit's extra weight would require a more efficient reactor. We are already way past spec with the repurposed T-45 reactor, and we keep suffering overheating and stability issues. We are going to need something else to give the power plant more punch. I think I may have found a solution, but I'm hesitant to log my results until I'm sure the Garrahans will go along with the plan. In the next one, December 24th, 2076. Wow, he was working on Christmas Eve. After a few slagged reactors and a near meltdown, we finally have ultrasight powering the excavator. Vivian wasn't exactly thrilled making the 10-year commitment AMS was demanding for their patented ore, but it had exactly the power output and radiation signature we needed. All that remains now is mounting the ultrasight-fired reactor into the chassis and see if we can get this beast to move some rock. Wow, so despite being competitors, all the major mining corporations of Appalachia had business dealings. AMS providing Gara-Han with an ultrasight ore contract, Hornwright providing Garrahan with a contract for auto miners, Hornwright and AMS working together on the auto miners, but Garrahan hadn't produced anything the other companies wanted. Perhaps that's why it was facing financial difficulty. In the next one, February 3rd, 2077, Show and Tell Day is here, and I'm nervous as hell. We're unveiling the excavator to the press almost 3 months ahead of schedule. Between AMS unveiling Watoga and Hornwright stepping up their game with their auto miners, the pressure's been on to get the unit field ready. I've had my team working around the clock for almost a month straight. As for myself, I've barely been getting by on a steady diet of coffee, cigarettes, and stale donuts. If the excavator performs even close to our expectations, we're guaranteed to give both AMS and Hornwright a run for their money. Fingers crossed. And in the final one, April 30th, 2077, the third excavator just rolled off our assembly line, and I couldn't be happier. The first 2 units have been up and running for almost a month now, and we haven't had a single serious breakdown or maintenance issue. Everyone on the mining team wants to get their hands on these suits. Bryce has been continually piloting one of the excavators. He has already shattered Garrahan's record for amount of ore extracted in a single day. Vivian surprised us all by rolling out a huge ad campaign, pitching our suits taking on Hornwright's auto miners like a Friday night boxing match. To say that this project has been a success is an understatement. I think it might be time to take that vacation before things heat up again around here. If things were such a success, how could Garrahan have lost the contest? Backing out of personal logs, we can examine excavator armor registration. Welcome back, Harold. The EXC-17 excavator suit uses patented ore sniffing technology developed in conjunction with the Westech Corporation. Helmet sensor calibration protocols are proprietary information and require registration interface with Garrahan's mainframe. I see. So after crafting it to calibrate the sensors, we have to register the suit here at Garrahan headquarters. All right. There appear to be 2 registration stations. One is offline and duplicated. It says registration station 1 4 times here, but registration station 2 is online. All right, looks like we'll have to find that to register our suit once we finish it. Now, to finish exploring the workshop, we find a randomized plan on a workbench, more power armor just lying around, a mole miner gauntlet, what's this doing here? Stim packs, miner uniforms, all sorts of stuff. There's a doorway to the south, but the floor's on fire. What? We'll have to figure out a way back there in a bit. Now to craft our power armor. Heading to a nearby workbench, we find a new option to craft the excavator armor. There are 3 levels of the excavator suit, the level 25 suit, 35 suit, and the 45 suit. The level 25 suit has a ballistic damage resistance of 163, energy damage resistance of 163, and a radiation resistance of 234. The level 35 suit brings ballistic and energy up to 201 and radiation up to 300. The level 45 suit brings ballistic and energy up to 240 and radiation up to 366. These numbers are the combined totals of all pieces worn for that crafted level. These totals give it the worst ballistic and energy resistance of any other suit of power armor. However, with all pieces equipped, we get a bonus of 100 to carry weight. However, if we remove even one piece, we lose our carry weight bonus. But this thing is expensive to craft at younger levels. Those who watched my live stream will recall that I had to make several trips back to Garrahan, spanning several live streams to collect all of the resources necessary to craft this sucker. The real tricky issues here are going to be springs and black titanium. I took many trips to Sugar Grove to loot every single clipboard I could find to get the springs I needed to craft this suit. Black titanium drops off a few creatures, like Deathclaws for example. You can find it in some caches. The way I got the black titanium I needed was to go to Mount Blair and use the Hornwright Industrial Rockhound to mine for some. This is a workshop, I had to claim it, and it takes a good long while to produce the amount that you need. Even then, I didn't get enough black titanium to craft a full suit. Mods for the excavator suit are also tricky to get and expensive. The best way is to head over to Grafton and check in with vendor bot Greg. He sells the plans for excavator power armor mods, most of which, however, will be entirely out of anyone's price range. The excavator power armor is a unique looking suit, unlike any of the other suits that we find in the game. It comes in this construction yellow, and as far as I know, we don't find paint schemes to repaint it, except for in the Atom shop. Now that we've crafted the suit, we have to register it. Time to finish exploring down here. Heading west out a door, we find the workstations for the people in R&D. Turning right, we pass a tinkerer's workbench to find Harold Frost's R&D holotape on a desktop.
I can't believe we lost. We had one chance to prove that our excavator power armor could beat the Hornwright auto miner, and we blew it. Vivian came up with her ridiculous challenge is beyond me. She never even consulted. Just rolled it out there like a prize fight. Newspapers got a hold of it, everything blew out of proportion. Now we're the laughingstock of the mining industry. I mean, who in their right mind would buy any products from us after that? No one. So, here I am, staring at the phone, waiting for the inevitable call to shut the R&D department down. Vivian has all our chips on this project, and Gara-Han mining has wiped out. I wonder if Hornwright is hiring.
So that's what was at stake. By losing the contest, they become the laughingstock of the mining industry, and no one buys their products anymore. Even if the excavator is a functional suit of power armor that does indeed work, no one wants to buy from the loser. While exploring down here, we find a bunch of scrap and a number of containers. There's a wall safe, booby-trapped with a tension trigger in the southwestern corner of the room. Well, looks like that was attached to a Tesla arc, and even then it's locked with a skill level 2 lock. For our troubles, inside we get nothing of interest. On the southern end of the workstations, we find 2 doors. The closed door leads to a staircase that brings us back up to that crossroad. Sure enough, turning left brings us back to those bathrooms. Okay, so we've explored every avenue from this crossroad. Heading back down and going through the other door, we find a testing station with consoles everywhere. There's a first aid kit on a cart, but no registration kiosk. There's a door that leads out to the cave beyond. Warning, falling rocks, we read. We find iron veins on the walls and some toxic water below us. And heading up a staircase and going through a door, we find a big red button. Power armor scan. Register excavator power armor. If we push it without wearing the full suit, it says registration failed. However, once we have the full suit crafted and we come back to the same button, we register successfully and we complete the quest, Minor Miracles. In this room, we find a couple of locked containers to loot. Back out to the cave, we find an ammo box on a pushcart, and this puts us out on the other side of the door, leading to the room that's on fire. I wanted to see what was in here, trying to avoid the fire. We see a frag grenade box, and that's really all that's in here, so not sure why that's on fire. This leaves one path left to explore. Leaving R&D and heading back up the stairs, we can move south past the crossroads and back into the headquarters lobby. Here we find one nook that we failed to explore earlier. This just leads to the cafeteria. We can try our hand at a porta diner. No dice. There's a chem cooler on a table and various food goods and plastic utensils to loot from the cafeteria. With that done, we can head up the stairs and move west towards the tracks. Now to see what's down the tracks. The tracks are still well lit after all of these years. And here we begin to find some liberators. Let's go ahead and use that drill. Oh, really? These are level 10 liberators. My character was like level 26 at the time. All right, fun idea for a weapon, but yeah. I think I'll stick with my sword. Moving forward, we find more liberators, and we realize that this tunnel lies at the bottom of that hole that led back up to the parking garage where we entered. So we've done a complete loop. After killing the liberators at the top, we could go back out the garage, or we can go back down and continue to follow the tracks to the east. The path bends north and then goes uphill until we arrive at a platform patrolled by more Chinese robots. So this is where the station ends. There's a skill level 0 locked door by the elevators to the south. This leads to a closet. Oh, a booby-trapped closet. Missed that. There's a first aid kit on top and a couple of smaller weapons on the shelf. The elevator's out of order. We can't take that up to leave. But to the north, we find another door, locked with a skill level 0 locked terminal. After hacking it, we can open the security door, which triggers more liberators to spawn. This leads to another utility tunnel, a tunnel booby-trapped with laser tripwires connected to Tesla traps. We can trigger them to move forward. Once done, the path rises until we find a door leading back out to Appalachia. We arrive on the other side of a security bunker. On a wall, we find another Gara-Han poster, Traditional Values for Untraditional Times. Gara-Han Mining, Appalachia's most trusted mining company. There's a skill level 1 locked wall safe. I bet I can unlock it from the terminal, and we have to use this terminal to get out. Thankfully, it's not locked. We can open the door, but we couldn't open the safe. So pick on the lock on the safe. We can loot to our heart's content, then head out the security door. This puts us outside, just north of Garrahan Estate. So the broken elevator goes straight up to the Garrahan Estate Mega Mansion. I see the Garrahan family would go down the elevator and take those little orb cars down the track and into the headquarters to work every day. And I believe this helps explain the giant hole in the parking garage. After the miners got fired, they couldn't go inside the headquarters anymore and simply walk to the little orb cars, so they blew a hole in the parking garage, which as miners they knew was right above the track that led to the elevator that goes right into the Garrahan Mega Mansion. The protesters were trying to raise her home, just like they raised the other Mega Mansion. But were they successful? How much of Garrahan Estate is still intact? And we recall we looted a key card to Garrahan Estate while exploring the Garrahan Mining headquarters. Perhaps we can learn more about the Garrahan Mining Company and its CEO Vivian by exploring her estate. Why did she decide to challenge Hornwright in that contest? Was her company's financial state really so poor that after losing the contest she had to fire her workers and use Hornwright's auto miners? To find out, we'll explore her estate in our next episode. If you don't want to miss it, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. If you've already subscribed but you're not getting YouTube notifications, consider following me on Twitter at Oxhorn. I update Twitter manually with every new piece of content that I publish. I have a shirt shop with completely unique designs that you can't find anywhere else. My designs come on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes and in a wide array of colors. You can find them on other products as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more brand new videos.